Sometimes, life shows us moments that can only be truly understood with the heart, not just the eyes. This is a story that teaches us that a person's worth isn't judged by their clothes, but by their character. It was 11:15 a.m. in downtown Chicago, and the atmosphere in a busy branch of North Shore National Bank was alive with the sound of ringing phones and clicking keyboards. Customers in business suits and smart dresses filled the bank, and employees were hustling to assist everyone. At that moment, an elderly man walked in. He looked to be in his early 70s, with a wrinkled face showing years of experience. His gray hair was neatly combed, and he wore simple but clean clothing, a faded sweater and beige pants. He was holding an old envelope in his hand. His name was Mr. Samuel Carter. As soon as he stepped inside the bank, a few curious eyes turned toward him. His clothes were modest, and his walk was slightly unsteady. A few customers glanced at each other with looks of disdain, wondering why someone dressed so simply would come to this upscale bank. Samuel made his way to the customer service desk, where a young woman named Emily Roberts was standing. She had a polite smile, but when she saw his attire, her expression shifted slightly. "Good morning, sir. How may I assist you today?" Emily asked, keeping her tone professional. Mr. Carter smiled gently and replied, "Good morning, young lady. I think there might be an issue with my account. Could you please take a look at it?" Emily glanced at his worn-out clothes, then back at him, her smile fading a little. "Sir, I believe you might have come to the wrong branch. This is a location that mainly serves clients with larger accounts. You might want to visit one of our smaller branches." With quiet patience, Samuel replied, "I understand, but would you please check it for me?" "It won't take long." Emily was hesitant, but reluctantly took the envelope from his hand. "All right, please wait in the seating area for a few minutes, and I'll check for you." Mr. Carter quietly sat down in the waiting area, choosing an empty chair by the window. His face was calm, but his eyes revealed the weight of the years he had lived. As he sat there, some of the customers whispered under their breath, "Probably just another person wasting time. He doesn't belong here." Despite the whispers, Samuel remained silent, not reacting to any of it. He sat patiently, hoping for a resolution. After about half an hour, another employee, Jake Thompson, who had seen Mr. Carter sitting there for a while, approached him. "Sir, you've been waiting a long time. Can I help you with something?" Jake asked kindly, noticing the elderly man's calm demeanor. Samuel looked up at him with a warm smile. "I was hoping to speak to the manager, but Emily said he might be too busy. Can you help me with my account instead?" Jake nodded and immediately went to the branch manager's office. The manager, Brian Davis, was known to be very focused on high net worth clients and usually ignored those who appeared to be just regular customers. "Brian, there's an elderly man in the waiting area who's been sitting there for a while. He says there's an issue with his account," Jake said. Brian, looking frustrated, waved him off. "Tell him to sit and wait. If it's important, he should have scheduled an appointment. I don't have time for this right now." Jake returned to Samuel, who was still waiting quietly. An hour passed and still no one approached him. Finally, Mr. Carter stood up slowly, walked over to Brian's office and knocked gently on the door. Brian saw him coming and immediately opened the door, sighing impatiently. "What is it, sir? I'm very busy today," Brian said curtly. Without saying a word, Samuel placed the envelope on Brian's desk. "Son, would you kindly take a look at this? I think there's been an issue with my account." Brian glanced at the envelope, then at Samuel, his patience already running thin. "Look, when there's no money in the account, there's nothing to be done. I'm sure you don't have much in there. Please don't waste my time," Brian said dismissively. Samuel didn't respond. He simply nodded and said, "All right, I'll leave now. But please, just take a moment to look at what I've given you." He turned and started walking toward the door. After Samuel left, Brian just tossed the envelope aside without a second thought. But hours later, when the branch was quieter, Jake walked by the desk and noticed the envelope again. Curiosity got the better of him, and he picked it up. He opened it carefully, reading the first page. His eyes widened in disbelief. The next page made his hands shake, and by the time he reached the third page, his jaw had dropped. The envelope contained the shareholder details of North Shore National Bank, specifically a document showing that Samuel Carter owned 40% of the bank's shares, making him one of the largest shareholders. The final document was a power of attorney granting Samuel full authority over branch management decisions. Jake couldn't believe it. He immediately verified the information with the bank's legal department, and everything checked out. Samuel Carter was not just a simple elderly man. He was a key stakeholder in the bank. Without wasting any time, Jake made a copy of the documents and took them directly to Brian's office. Brian was in the middle of a meeting with another client when Jake entered with the folder. "Brian, "You might want to look at this," Jake said, placing the folder on Brian's desk. Brian reluctantly took the folder, his face darkening as he read through the documents. This can't be true," he mumbled. The client sitting in front of him asked, "Is everything all right, Mr. Davis?" Brian didn't respond. He was in complete shock, realizing that he had dismissed the bank's largest shareholder earlier that day. The next morning, at exactly 11:15 a.m., Samuel Carter walked into the bank once again, but this time he was accompanied by a well-dressed man, Marcus Taylor, the bank's regional director. As Samuel entered, the atmosphere in the bank shifted. Emily, who had dismissed him the day before, suddenly felt a sense of shame. Brian stood frozen as Samuel made his way straight to his office. Brian rushed to meet them, his face pale and nervous. "Mr. Carter, I'm so sorry," he stammered, his voice filled with panic. Samuel looked at him calmly and said, "You see, son, yesterday you judged me based on my clothes, my age, and my appearance. Today, you'll see the consequences of that judgment." Marcus handed Brian an official notice. "Brian Davis, you are immediately relieved of your duties as branch manager. Your transfer has already been arranged." The bank employees watched in silence as the news sank in. Samuel turned to Jake and said, "Jake, you've shown integrity today. I'd like you to be the new manager of this branch." Jake, stunned, didn't know how to respond. "Yes, Jake," Samuel said, "this bank needs people who understand respect and responsibility, not those who judge by appearances." The employees gave Jake a standing ovation as he took his new position. Meanwhile, Brian stood there, head down, no longer the powerful manager he once thought he was. He had learned a hard lesson that day. As for Samuel Carter, he continued to visit the bank occasionally, not to assert his authority, but to ensure that no one else would be treated unfairly again. The moral of this story is simple. Never judge someone by their clothes, age, or appearance. A person's true identity lies in their character, not what they wear. If you like the story, please hit the like and subscribe button.